last month, and the legislators have been getting it since we started publication in July 2014.
Next presenter, Mr. Joshua Littrell. Joshua, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Tell me if I'm pronouncing your last name correctly or not.
It's Littrell when you get outside the county line. It's
Okay.
Littrell inside.
Welcome to come up there, make sure we're on, and once you introduce yourself and tell folks who you're representing, and we've got about 5-10 minutes.
You got it. Well, good morning, everyone. Representative Peake, I really want to say thank you to you and the members of the commission for giving us the opportunity to speak. I think you all see me in here from time to time with a lot less facial hair, I'm sure, but no shave November, and I'm just rolling until we get into state cultivation laws. So.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, yeah.
Good morning. I'm Joshua Littrell. I'm founder and CEO of Veterans for Cannabis. And I'm going to reference it as VFC from now on. As you all know that veterans like their acronyms, so that's what it is. It's VFC. You know, I learned a long time ago that when someone asks what you do, you tell them why you do what you do, and then they won't have to ask you what it is that you do. I'm an American-born, Georgian-raised combat veteran in the United States Air Force. I made a choice when I was 17 years old to do something I had dreamed of my whole life. I knew when I was a child that I wanted to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. I can remember some of my earliest memories being of my mother telling me that I should never pick on someone because of the way they look, talk, or act. She always said, Joshua, you have to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. You have to defend those who can't defend themselves. So when I was 17, I enlisted in the United States Air Force. I did this because I wanted to protect my country, my family, and my friends. In 2003, I had the opportunity to serve them all in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I served 6 years in the United States Air Force, where I completed 2 tours overseas and received an honorable discharge from the United States Air Force. I got out, went to college at Georgia Gwinnett, and got my business degree, and never looked back. You know, I thought that when I put my guns down and stopped fighting in combat, that I would be done with war, but that's not the case. We are fighting now. I'm fighting a battle, and hopefully we're going to have an opportunity to save lives. I can honestly say that when I completed my enlistment and served my commitment out, that's what I did. I thought I was done at that point in time. But you know what? I'm sitting in front of you all this morning because I've been called upon. My fellow airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines have called upon me to take charge in this battle. I represent the most diverse minority group in this country. I represent veterans. I represent those who have sacrificed more than any other population in history, and they continue to do so every single day. We're black, we're white, we're Hispanic, we're Asian, we're Muslim, we're German, we're Italian. The list goes on and on. We're made up of everything across the board. We are doctors, lawyers, advisors, coaches, CEOs, managers, state representatives, state senators, just to name a few. Veterans are a very proud group who more oftentimes than not decide to stay out of the limelight, because that's not where they're at. They're humble, compassionate, strong, and intelligent. Veterans expect those in service to serve them. Our veterans are willing to sacrifice everything in defense of their state representatives, senators, and governors' freedom, their families' rights, their country's liberties, all while asking absolutely nothing in return. So when my fellow airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines came to me and asked me to fight for them, I knew I could not leave anyone behind. I speak for those who are worried about losing their job, who are worried about losing their children, because they believe in a medicine that will not kill them. You all know that 22 veterans a day commit suicide from PTSD? 22. Did you all know that veterans die at a 50% greater rate from accidental overdose deaths in this country? 50% greater rate than civilians do. Because the VA does something called throw meds at you. Over-medicate. Take pills. And then you know what? You go to sleep one night and you don't wake up. It's not because they did something wrong. They're doing everything they were told to by their physicians. Maybe they had a couple beers though. You know, they went to bed and they literally did not wake up. An accidental overdose, and it happens every single day. This is preventable. We can stop this right now. Number one killer in the United States is no longer car accidents. Number one killer in the United States is accidental overdose. I hope that resonates with you all. I lost my mother in a car accident when I was 10 years old. She was one of those statistics that back in the day, she was the one that it killed the most amount of people. Now, it's accidental overdoses. Accidental overdoses that are taking lives that we can stop, we can prevent. Rarely in history do people have an opportunity to change its course, to have a profound impact on people's lives. And above all else, very few people have the opportunity to save lives. Members of the commission, you all have that opportunity in front of you today. You all can change Georgia's history. You all can help defend freedom. And above all, each one of you can save lives. VFC's mission and vision and mission statement are as follows. Our vision is a world where the suffering of those who serve our country and those who serve them can be mitigated by treatment that does not further damage their bodies, minds, and lives, or cause the death of more than 50 veterans a day from accidental overdose and suicide. And we will achieve our vision by sticking to our mission. That is, if you all recommend an in-state cultivation model. VFC's mission is to reduce deaths associated from accidental overdose of narcotic pain medication and end overall suffering associated with PTSD through the growth and distribution of the highest quality grade medical cannabis. And we're going to do it for veterans and civilians alike. We are going to help both of those causes because that's what it's about, is saving lives for all of us. I want to point out that VFC doesn't only help veterans, we help civilians as well, which I just said. Vets are not the only ones who battle PTSD or chronic pain. What about the child that was molested? What about the person who got in a car accident and they're having flashbacks from that? That's PTSD in civilians. It's not only in the military. And people don't understand that. I'm fighting for civilians and veterans alike because we all matter. Veterans aren't the only ones who get cancer or have anxiety either. Now you all have an understanding of who VFC is and why we do what we do and how we intend to save lives. Here's how we best think it can be accomplished. Before we do that, I'd like to ask everybody that's in here that's a veteran, would you mind raising your hand? Thank you all for your service. Really appreciate it. You know, these are the backbone of our country, there's no doubt about it. First off, I want to share a story with you all. Imagine with me, if you will. It's a great Sunday night. Falcons just won a nail-biter against the Carolina Panthers. You had a great day.
You're dreaming now.
You hung out with your family and your friends, and you know, it was a great day. So you go to bed that night, and your husband or wife's there in the bed beside you. You lay down, you drift off to sleep, and there you are in the middle of Iraq. You're taking supplies to a people that have been oppressed by Saddam's evil regime for the last 30 years. You know what? You're listening to music, you're hanging out with your comrades, you're looking off into the mountains, the view, and boom! A bomb goes off. At that point in time, life changes. The cabin fills up with smoke. You're looking over at your buddy, your ears are ringing, your skin's burning. You don't know what's going on. He's crashed out, he's lumped over. You get out, reach in, pull him out, and his legs don't come with it. You grab him, you're holding him. Try to save his life, and there's nothing you can do. That's the kind of pain you have. You're shaking, you're trembling. You don't know what's going on. You wake up in the middle of Atlanta. You're shaking, you're trembling, you're crying. Your wife or your husband's trying to calm you down. There's nothing you can do. At that point in time, there's no pill you can take. There's nothing you can do that's going to help you get immediate relief other than reaching for a vaporizer of cannabis or maybe some full plant-based medical marijuana. So that when you take an inhaled breath of that cannabis and you exhale, it's instantaneous relief. That's what the difference is with the delivery methods that we're talking about now. We can get instantaneous reliefs and save people's lives so that we give them an opportunity to treat themselves. They take a couple more puffs, they start to settle down, they start to come back. That's where we're at. That's where they're calm at. A pill will take an hour, 2 hours. It doesn't help immediately. Medical cannabis in a vaporizer form or a full smoked cannabis form helps immediately. There are very real scenarios I just shared with you. We need an in-state cultivation model that is whole plant. We do not need to limit it to CBD only. We need THC and CBD together because there's something called a synergistic effect. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It's like coffee or cream. And for you doctors on the board, it's like acetaminophen and hydrocodone. It works together. One has to have the other to be fully effective. It's treatment for most patients. VFC also believes that we need to have additional delivery methods for our patients in this great state. The two reasons I just shared with you are great examples that outline the needs for different delivery methods. So we need to have vaporizer, full plant-based smoking. We need to have edibles available so that we can have treatment options for patients that can get medicine into their systems. You all have heard a lot of great people throughout this process over the last few months. Veterans for Cannabis is one of the very few who have sat here in front of you as a small business owner that is here in Georgia, has the knowledge, the network, the resources, and the ability to provide the highest quality organic cannabis to patients. We recommend putting residency requirements on a minimum of 2 years on those looking to go dispense in our state, with the exception of Jason Cranford. We do believe that everything he's done is really powerful, and we think it should be an exception right there. So this should, and that's not an endorsement or anything, I really do believe in what he's doing. So this should be a Georgia program for Georgia residents. It should also be severely restricted so that those who are trying to enter the market strictly for monetary gains are kept out. Please make a recommendation to properly vet those who will apply for a license to dispense in this state so that we can keep big corporations from coming in here and swooping up the market share to ensure they get the largest amount of profit. The number one priority for anyone in this industry should be the patients. Veterans for Cannabis lives by this model, and we will always put patients first. We hope that you all will encourage entrepreneurship and small business growth within our state. We ask that you all make this achievable for small businesses to get licenses. Please put a minimum requirements on the number of grows and dispensers. Allow, an example, minimum of 10 dispensaries, not a maximum of 4, say. Last but not least, the list of conditions has to be expanded. VFC begs you to please add chronic pain, PTSD, fibromyalgia, diabetes, autism, anxiety, depression, and terminal illness to the list of qualifying conditions, along with some others as well. Director, sir, do you know that what you get from veterans? You get integrity first. VFC is willing to operate on a completely transparent basis, sir, so that you and the Sheriff's Association and local law enforcement can oversee our operation and ensuring that only those who have a valid license receive medicine from us. We are happy to work with you all to alleviate any concerns you may have with the in-state cultivation model. Sir, VFC and the other legal growers in this state will not be the ones you'll have to worry about. I can promise you that. In fact, our transparency and availability for cross-functionality with law enforcement will free up your time and officers to find the drug dealers who are selling crack, heroin, pills, meth, cocaine. You all can concentrate on stopping those who are taking lives. You will not have to worry about those of us who are willing to cultivate cannabis legally and who will be saving lives. Sir, I ask that you and the committee please recommend a whole plant in-state cultivation model. On November 11th this year, and just like every other year in my life, I pause to remember those who fought for our freedom. Those who died for our freedom and those who still continue to fight for our freedom. On that very day this year, the Senate passed H.R. 2029. Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Related Agencies Appropriations Act 2016. Judge Rickman, this now allows the Veterans Administration physicians to make a recommendation to their patients for medical cannabis. This is a seismic shift in policy, sir, because up until now, veterans who were seeing benefits from medical cannabis were being denied care because they were testing positive for cannabis when they're going in to get their medicine or treatment. These veterans were choosing to live illegally than to die legally at the hands of the VA. Now, this will no longer be the case in states where it's legal to use cannabis as a treatment because of this resolution. This is why the timing of this hearing and the committee's recommendation for the in-state cultivation model could not be any more appropriate. Members of the committee, today you may see this as a culmination of a lot of hard work, dedication, time spent on something that you all may know and believe in wholeheartedly. I know that some of you are on the fence about this subject as well. Some of you all may have thought, and I quote the director of the DEA, he says that medical cannabis is a joke. Well, hopefully what I've said today has changed your mind. What I've said has had an impact. And at that time, and that any time you save a life, it's not a joke. Today can be a day that Georgia can lead the way in the South. Join the other 84% of your state that says we need to expand our medical cannabis program here in Georgia. The people in our state have spoken, 84% support. VFC urges this committee to recommend an in-state cultivation model, allow for full plant-based cannabis production without limiting THC content, put residency requirements on those who are allowed to cultivate, encourage small businesses by not having outlandish bonding requirements and cash on hand to apply and be approved for a license, allow for those small businesses to have enough time to gather the cash and investors to establish infrastructure, expand the list of conditions to include the ones I mentioned before, allow for additional delivery options such as vaporizing, consuming edibles, and smoking full plant-based cannabis. In closing, members of the committee, I charge you all with making a difference. I charge you all with being leaders in the South. I charge you all with saving lives. Please save lives. No one has ever died from an overdose of cannabis, and no one ever will. I wanted to point that out, that we're only a couple of miles away from the King Center, a place that houses so much historical significance and that it comes as a battle that's similar to this one. I'm going to close with a quote from the great Dr. Martin Luther King, and I quote, "I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law." Thank you all for your time.
We appreciate, I'll just remind everyone, this is testimony here, keep it a quorum as best you can. Okay, any questions for Mr. Littrell? Yep, press your button there for me, Dr. There you go.
A question regarding, when you were talking about the new law that was passed allowing the VA physicians to certify the patient?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that only available in states where there's a medical marijuana legalized?
That is correct. The legislation states that if a state has a medical cannabis program in place, then that VA facility, that VA physician can make a recommendation for those patients there. So
would Georgia qualify then?
Georgia does qualify.
Okay.
Georgia does qualify, but unfortunately, that list is so small that we're not going to be able to treat any of the veterans.
And the challenge would be still, the veteran would have to access the product somewhere.
Right.
Let's see, Dr. Clark.
I want to have make one comment. I do hear many problems. The heart, one of taking care of it. Because of that problem is many, it's not necessary to the medical marijuana is the whole circle problem. This is not the only one answer to taking care of all things. Because of this problem, and problem may be persistent. That should not be the case. The old, like the example of PTSD, etc., medical marijuana is not the only one solution. Many other factors there. So you see in the problem always working with the elderly, the physician. But so that means the person who wants to willing to support or taken care of has to have the knowledge what the product is controlled, how much is controlled, what the side effects, etc. But we don't have those kinds of information yet.
We do.
So that is my comment. So you have to
This is a sham.
some considerations of those issues.
You know, I'll speak to that. There is-
Hang on a second, Mr. Trey. I just want to make sure everybody understands. You got comments in the crowd, you keep them to yourself. This is a hearing where we're going to hear from folks that are testifying and from the commission members. And if there's any disruption of that, we will ask you, Lord. So go ahead, Mr. Trey.
There's some good data out there, Dr. Park, in the states where it is legal. And, you know, I know some of it is anecdotal, but the thing I can tell you is that when I was in Vermont and I actually grew up there, that's how I got exposed to this. Some of you all may have seen my testimony last year as representative people allowed me the opportunity to speak. It works. I mean, it just flat works. That's all I can tell you. What doesn't work is when you go to war and you come back a different person. And you know you're going to be different when you leave. But when you come back and the VA gives you a handful of meds that make you a zombie, that literally keep you in a catatonic state all day long, that's what doesn't work. So we need an opportunity to have additional alternative medicines so that if it does work, we can allow that. Now, medication does work for some people for PTSD. It does, the pills do. But it doesn't work for everyone. And it's those who are high energy, that drive, that don't want to be zombies. They can't afford to be zombies. Those are the ones who are committing suicide because they can't find themselves again. They need to find themselves. And medical cannabis helps them find themselves. It allows them to have some relief immediately as well when they're having those bad thoughts. And they get in that bad place where you can't get out of it. And it's a tunnel. It's bad. You get out of it with medical cannabis, I can tell you that. The pills don't work. You have to titrate up to them, and you have to get so many in your system. But the cannabis, it's immediate.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Ms. Littrell, one, thank you for your service to our country. We greatly appreciate that, and we appreciate the passion you have for this issue. And we'll sure take the thoughts, comments you've given under consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you for everything you've done.
Sure, sure. Okay, all right, we're gonna keep moving along. Mr. Cotton, Sebastian Cotton? You wanna come up and chat with us for a little bit?